So,
It's okay. I had just assumed. Bill? Should we wait until one
in the shop.
now? When he does, he's not coming back.
I've got two big gas furnaces. I do not work in the cold.
You can't.
They keep it about
May,
65 degrees there.
On March
You don't
5th.
want a lot of this.
But when you bust a knuckle, it doesn't hurt so bad.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. It has been duly called. Appropriate notice has been given. If we could have Mr. Neil Pendergrass come lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, you don't have to come, but you know what I mean.
Just do it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Neil's kind of special. I need an approval of the agenda and minutes from the December 14th meeting.
Move to approve the agenda and the minutes of the December 14 meeting.
I'll second.
Jason, second. Do I have any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. We have two presentations. Mr. Neil Pendergrass, the recipient of the ASBA President's Award for 500-plus hours of board training, which is like
It's
all his life.
500,
9 a year, right?
I'd say 503. You only have to have 6 a year and a
We have to
quarter.
have 6 a year. I'm pretty sure when I got on the board, it
Did
was
you?
9.
9
Yeah,
for a
it
new
was.
member, 9 for a new member, 6 a year.
Either way,
How
I may
many
have
years?
over 24, so I may have
24.
overachieved each year.
Yeah, overachieved.
Maybe a little.
So,
Overachiever.
Mr. Pendergrass, we'd like to present to you a little something from us concerning the Arkansas School Board Association President's Award, 500-plus
you.
training hours. Thank you for what you've done for our district and the extra that you did. Got a little
We'll give you
keychain.
$100 for every hour you
That's
serve.
what.
We got a $100 keychain.
No.
Checks in the mail.
No money.
No money.
Let me be clear.
Oh, no. Come on, you gotta start.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right.
Since I've never really been at a loss for words and some stuff I've done, I did want to say that I appreciate the board. I really do, not only for this, but for what I know that you do. Because I've seen you in closed sessions, and I know how you care about the school, and I know how you care about the staff, and I know how you care about the students, which is, of course, number one. So, but thank you very much. I'm leaving you in good hands, I think, so.
Big seat to
Thank you a lot.
fill.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Neil.
Mr.
Thank you, Neil.
Pendergrass.
I don't have the other ones.
It is a very prestigious award to have the President's Award given to you for your numerous hours of training.
Years.
So, years and years. So thank you for your service and your willingness to have the extra training and go above and beyond. At this time, I'd also like to recognize Mr. Bill Waymeyer. He will be going off the board in March. So I have a little something for you as well.
Oh, that $100 thing again. Back one of these years.
Well, you don't have anything close to Neil.
So, Mr. Waymeyer, in appreciation of Bill Waymeyer, Mountain Public Schools Board of Education, member of 14 years of service.
Thank you.
14. I've got, yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Whoever, it's okay, it's all the same, I promise.
So you guys can fix anything?
Yeah.
So you're good.
Thank you.
Anyway, I just want to say,
Years later, man.
when I did this, I was asked, hey, why are you running for school board? I said, well, I didn't know, I was asked to run for the school board from a friend of mine. And first guy I talked to was a superintendent then, we won't mention names, but he said, what's your agenda? I said, well, I don't really have an agenda other than 7 kids. He said, okay. So they asked 2 other school board members, they asked me, what's your agenda? I said, I don't have any. I don't know what agenda means. What does that mean on school board? And as I've been on it, I think the agendas are kind of passed, and this board here that we're dealing with today and have dealt with, that I've dealt with recently is got the right thing in mind. I know we've went through a lot of stuff lately, Neil knows it too. We've been bashed for the stuff we've done and tried to do and all that. And I think all we've ever wanted to do was what was best for the kids in school and our employees and even the people around me who are sending their kids to us. But anyway, I appreciate it. It's been a learning experience, and just time for me to move on. I'm not dedicating the time I need to do, and there's other people out there that will. And we got good people running, so we'll be good. So,
Thanks,
you.
Bill.
So
All right.
thank you, Mr. Waymeyer. This is also School Board Appreciation Month. So you see at your seats, you have some special goodies from all of our students and buildings. I do want to share one of the groups at the high school wanted to make these for you all. They've been making them all year with their 3D printers. So we thought that was pretty neat, and I believe Ms. Russell even has some more samples of the work that those students have been doing.
So they have been printing, I don't know, they've been printing our own trophies for things.
Wow.
So that's been a definite, exciting part for us. It's supposed to, yeah, it's really cool. Y'all can pass that around. That's one that they printed for a competition this past weekend. And something that I didn't even know we were doing until today. So Ms. Wham went to our kids and said, hey, I've got a problem. The backs on the calculators keep falling off. And she needed like 50 of them. And so one of our students was like, hey, I think I can fix that. And so he designed the back, and it's got a little MH on it, and we 3D printed them.
Battery covers.
Yeah, which I thought was
So
really
light.
cool. So they can make, these kids can make just about anything that we present. We bring them a problem, and they're like, hey, I think I can 3D print that. So lots of exciting things going on.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Thank you.
You've got some homemade goodies from the junior high. I always call it FCSI, but that's the club. The Family Consumer Science courses, and then some artwork and other things from the building. But we do have one more thing that we'd like to do. Guy Berry has a little project they've been working on, and it's kind of a big project. Mr. Kincaid, would you like to present?
That's cool.
Guys, I wanted to tell you how much we really do appreciate you, Guy Berry, because you've allowed us to do some things, and we're just, right now, on some of the things we're doing, we're on the cutting edge, I guess, so to speak, because we're, as a workforce learning. I can't make a canoe for each and every one of y'all, but we're gonna draw a name, and we're gonna get the name, and then we want to get a bomber blue canoe, and then try to personalize it for y'all.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Dan.
It'll be Bill.
It's a house.
Woo-hoo! Well, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. All right.
All right, well,
I need to learn how to canoe.
so,
It will be. Put Blake Shelton on there.
Wide open.
so we will make sure we get a picture of that.
I can't
when
wait.
They complete it.
In my bikini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, at least you're in it.
That won't be happening.
At least you in it. So I do want to share a proclamation from Governor Sanders, the State of Arkansas Executive Department proclamation. To all whom these present come greetings. Whereas the education of our children is one of the most important responsibilities we have as a society, and it is crucial to the future prosperity and well-being of our state. Whereas school boards play a critical role in our public education system, working diligently to ensure that every student has access to a high-quality education that prepares them for success in life. Whereas the dedicated members of Arkansas School Board are elected by the community to represent the interest of students and families making decisions that impact the educational experiences and opportunities for our youth. Whereas school board members are volunteers who devote countless hours to participate in trainings, attend meetings, study issues, and make difficult decisions on behalf of our students, and receive no compensation for their time and efforts. Whereas the month of January provides an opportunity to recognize the contributions of school board members and express our gratitude for their unwavering commitment to the students and schools of Arkansas. And whereas school boards and their members play an essential part in implementing LEARNs by facilitating important decisions and prioritizing every student in Arkansas by giving them a solid plan to guide their success. Now therefore, I, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Governor of the State of Arkansas, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the State of Arkansas, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as School Board Member Recognition Month in Arkansas.
Very good.
We also have a resolution from the Arkansas State Board of Education. Whereas the quality of education is a cornerstone of our great state's prosperity, and whereas education is the foundation upon which the future of our children and success of our society are built, and whereas Arkansas is committed to providing its students with the highest quality education possible, and whereas the dedicated members of Arkansas school boards are the essential link between the community and the classroom, and whereas these public servants are elected to represent the concerns of the community in ensuring that our schools are meeting the needs of all students, and whereas the Arkansas School Board Association and the Arkansas State Board of Education work tirelessly to support and provide guidance of these dedicated individuals, and whereas the month of January is an opportunity to recognize the outstanding contributions made by Arkansas School Board members who tirelessly give their time, energy, and talent in service to the public education system without payment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Arkansas State Board of Education recognizes and salutes members of local boards of education by proclaiming the month of January 2024 as Arkansas School Board Member Recognition Month. And that's Sarah Moore, Chair, and Jacob Oliva, ex officio Secretary.
Great,
So,
thank you.
Thank you all for what you do. Like they said, this is a volunteer position, no compensation, and thank you. Thank you for guiding and leading.
Thank you. We do get a meal.
You do.
That's pretty good.
You do. You get a fantastic
Yeah.
meal.
We have,
That's not for us, that's for them.
oh, that's right. We have several reports to address, so we're going to start with Mr. Rose on the academic report.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
When we first start talking about, I got a couple things tonight I want to share about what we got going on right now. First one is kind of customary. We look at the middle gear data, we're kind of focusing on our DIBELS data. That's the K6 information we gather. DIBELS stands for your dynamic indicator of basic early literacy skills. There we go, got it.
Nailed it.
I want to put learning in there, that's literacy. But so we do this across K6, and it varies as they get older. Kindergarten focus a lot on the phonemic awareness, the letter naming, that kind of thing, and then increases in rigor as they go up. So I just want to share a few highlights of this, and which will kind of scan through that. Some of the things that stood out to me, we had a big increase, which is pretty typical if we look back in history at kindergarten from beginning year to middle, and then they'll predict another big jump towards the end of the year if it follows suit. All but one grade level show growth there. 6% average growth overall, which, you know, that's even above what our typical goals are for our building district with a 5% growth and our literacy and mathematics. And a couple other highlights you see there, third graders on that reading accuracy of grade level passage. They had a huge jump there, but in saying that's a particular category in the DIBELS. And then I always like to see those move out of the low category, the red category there with a big jump of second graders there. Then just some individual shout outs. I don't put the names out there, but some kindergarten teachers there. There's a huge jump in her class, and this is, so the at or above is going to be your green and blue. So it had a huge jump, increase in students by 38%, move up to that category. So these are also pretty substantial jumps if you'll see moving kids. Looking at that, moving kids and see all the way through, there are a lot of double digits there scattered around throughout the, and there's more of this, you know, it's not something you can put on a slide, right? So, you know, what we're doing with that, just remember, you know, the data is there. We are looking at it continuously. We're not scared of it. We're taking it, making plans, and initializing those and implementing the plans. So the building leaders do a fabulous job of managing that and working with their teams and their pods and their CTs and guiding coalitions. They'll continue to do that and identify and put a face, I like to say put a face with those numbers, and make sure we're individually tracking those and working with those and following them on the SSPs and all those plans. And then, of course, we'll get all the eggs in the basket of the PLC process, and it fits it perfectly. We want to know what our students need to learn and how we're going to know if they learn it, and then what we do next, right? So we'll continue doing those, of course. The Literacy Task Force, on the next slide, we met last quarter. One of the things they were working on is really ramping up the vertical alignment. That's been kind of a needed piece that they've been wanting to work on. They started a process some last summer and continuing that, along with focusing on some more with some of this data from Dibbles, Tier 1 instruction, ramping that up so that we can get reading up to where we want it, the reading levels. We did have Dr. Feltner with Solution Tree was going to be with us this past Tuesday, obviously, with she flies in from Florida, and there wasn't a good place to land and drive from Little Rock to Mountain Home Monday night, so we rescheduled with her for towards the end of February. But she is going to spend a little extra time after working with the leadership. She will be spending some time, in particular, on campuses at Nelson Wilkes and at Hackler, and doing some learning walks with myself and the principals. But then she'll also focus some special time with the literacy department with Ms. Goodwin's 3-5 teachers, where they'll work on benchmark literacy, pacing, looking at standards, and kind of making sure we're hitting the right things at the right time of the year, that kind of highest important. And that brings us to what we've spent a lot of hours on lately, me and these fabulous principals we got back here. So through the LEARNS Act, they had set aside a substantial amount of money for the state of Arkansas to apply for grants for high impact tutoring. So just a little history on that. We found out back, I think it was in October-ish, that, hey, we're fixing to roll this out and get ready for it, get ready, and then wait. And then they realized they hadn't wrote the rules for how to spend that money yet. So in typical fashion, we found out over Christmas break, hey, we're ready to roll it out, and on January 4th, we got the webinar with the information for the grant, and it's due tomorrow. So we've had 2 weeks to put a really large grant application together, and we have been doing that, and can't thank enough these principals. We've worked together. We spent, and the snow days really helped us a lot, honestly, in regards to this, because we were able to focus together these last 3 days, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we worked around the clock pretty much on that. And we've got pretty much all those ready to submit. We'll be getting that submitted tomorrow. I got a few things that's kind of, they do have some pretty straightforward requirements here. It's going to be implemented during the school day. It can't be before or after school like what you think typical tutoring is. It has to be supplemental to core instruction, small group. So we're looking at a tutor ratio of 1 to 4 at the most. It could be 1 to 3, whatever. And then they want consistency, obviously, for more success there. At least 3 times a week at 30 minutes each of those sessions. Now, we got to talking, Mr. Roach, and I was like, that's tough to think about pinning down a kindergarten student maybe for, or even a first grader in some cases, for 30 minutes straight in one session. We have got confirmation that we can work with that. We talked to the lady at the State Department, Missy Wall, and she said we can do 5 days of 15 minutes if we need to, so she'll work with us on that. So that was a bit of a relief because it is more effective in that format. Did I have one more slide? Okay. And this just talks about some of the criteria. I just want to throw that in there, and y'all can scan through that, but got some options. They had what we've been working off of is an approved list of vendors. So we got vendors out there and across the country that have the ability to provide online tutoring. Some of them are providing in-person tutoring. You can also look at maybe adding stipends to some of your staff to work outside of their general contract time. There's lots of different things. Maybe some people could bring in retired teachers to possibly come in if they're willing and were vetted to do this. So lots of things like that we can get. So just to give you a quick idea of what we're looking at some online platforms for a couple of the elementary campuses. We're looking at in-person tutoring for the older students in the like 6-10 range. So got a lot of things out there. We're trying to figure out everything we can to help kids essentially, and we don't want to pass this opportunity up for some exploration into some of these programs and take advantage of this money that's been set aside out there for us to try to help every one of our kids. And we're focusing on different kids in different areas. We can get into more of that maybe later on. We'll get some data pulled from that. Some of us are looking at kids in that yellow range, which is a little bit below grade level. Some may be looking at kids that's kind of in that green, trying to grow the students, because those are a lot of times difficult to grow the higher students. So we're looking at different approaches there on different campuses based on the biggest needs.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but we've got a great team, and it's been fun. It's been fun, honestly. It's a lot, but it's been fun to work
Good.
alongside all of them.
Anybody have any discussion or questions?
Do you know when you'll hear back about the grant?
I do, well, unless something changes. What I was told yesterday is Missy Wally with the State Department, she's heavily involved in this. She said that they will notify districts on the 26th.
Started.
And they'll give us more stipulations on reporting methods and what they'll need, because this is a grant, it'd be kind of a reimbursable type grant. So these programs are very expensive, by the way, and we'd have to purchase those and we get reimbursed every purchase in the monthly system. But she'll let us know on the 26th if we get awarded that. I'm sure there are a lot of schools across the state applying for this. I've also talked to a lot that's not applying for it, so I think we got a good shot. We got a rubric to go by, and the principals have picked that rubric clean and try to make sure we're hitting every point we can. And then once we get that, there'll be we're looking at, if we get it, we're looking at trying to start most of them with the week of February 5th. We'll probably get right into it. Right?
Jumping in.
Get all those weeks in before spring break, 6 solid weeks before spring break. Maybe 3 to 6 weeks after, depending on which campus and what they're choosing.
Thank you. Ms. Cotter, financial report. Good evening.
We'll start with the statement of changes in fund balance for the month ending December 31st. We ended the month of December with $17,309,213.66. December is usually a quiet month because it's shorter and we're looking forward to Christmas vacation. So I will point out, though, that we've received declining enrollment funding in Fund 2218, and that was for $98,294. So that was kind of the most exciting thing that happened in December. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Moving on to this statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the month ending December 31st. We had total revenues in December of $3,109,255.71, with total expenditures of $3,558,777.89. Moving on to our fund balance tracking. In funds 1, 2, and 4 combined, we ended December with $10,376,764.01. And then moving on to our statement of changes in activity funds for December. We ended the month with all funds combined of $563,498.74. The following system report is the information that I used to create the previous pages, and then we have the period 6 check register for all of the checks written in December.
I One of the things I have asked Ms. Cotter to help me work on was we are almost halfway through this fiscal year. Well, we will be February 1st, right at. So we're going to be spending some time over the next few weeks really looking at where we're headed as far as our ending balance. So we will have more information on that at our next meeting to share with you all.
I also plan to bring some budget adjustments in February because we've received some different funding in some different areas, and then we've also gotten some updated allocations. So I'll bring those in February.
I can't wait. It's gonna be
It's
great.
exciting.
Yes, yeah. Any questions for Ms. Cotter? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank
You're welcome.
Enrollment report.
Enrollment report. Mr. Roach, how many kids did you enroll between the end of the year and, or the first of this year? 6 or 5? 5 or 6, I couldn't remember.
We had 7, and then the 7th one opted to stay with homeschool. We registered 6, and then we registered another one yesterday.
Well, I didn't know about that one, so 7. Kindergarten is growing. We are at 3,819 total students. I have been watching. We do have 2 small classes, as you know, and as we look at budget, we will be paying attention to staffing at those 2 grades in particular. On the next page, nope, that page right there. Back up, yeah, right there. I also have noted that last year from January to February, or I'm sorry, from December to January, we lost 6 kiddos. This year we lost 4. It does seem to be a trend, except for in 2019-20. And this is the smallest loss from December to January. So, yes, we are down, but we are watching. Just, I want to make sure our trend is not crazy off. And it does not seem to be, as far as how we're trending. The kindergarten, however,
Positive.
that is a
That's good.
positive. 294 students at kindergarten.
Wow.
So they continue to grow, and that's a good thing.
Mhm, definitely. Student transfers, Ms. Dewey?
Student transfers, we have 3 to Mountain Home and 6 out. However, 2 of that left or are going out never have attended Mountain Home. They just didn't have the transfer paperwork completed. And 1 has been out for over a year. So we're actually even.
Okay. Any questions? Keep you alive out there? Wake up. All right. Board training hours, Ms. Dewey.
Okay, so board training hours. As you know, according to, we must, according to our policy, report on the board training hours each year in January. So I'm referring to policy 1.11, board member training. Individuals who are elected to serve on the district's board of directors are required to receive annual training related to board service. Board members who are elected to serve an initial or non-continuous term shall obtain a minimum of 9 hours of training by December 31 of the year following their election, and a minimum of 6 hours of training by December 31 of each calendar year thereafter. The initial 9 hours of training a board member receives include training on how to read and interpret an audit report and information regarding school safety and student discipline. Board members who have served on the board for 12 or more consecutive months are required to obtain a minimum of 6 hours of training by December 31 of each calendar year. Hours a board member obtained in excess of the required minimum may be carried forward through December 31 of the 3rd calendar year following the years in which the hours were earned. And thank goodness Ms. Kelly helps on this a lot. So if you look at your total number of hours, I did want to point out, if you see it says other hours earned 2023, those are hours that don't count towards like the ASBA Boardsman Awards. Those are hours that we might do locally that ASBA has not necessarily endorsed. That doesn't mean they aren't good training, it just means ASBA has not put their official stamp. And some examples of that this year were when we brought in APSRC to do the finance training, the FOIA training, with Mr. Nutt. So those are just, I did want to explain because that is a new column. Everyone has met the required number of hours, and this board has a total of 812 and a quarter hours of training.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Any questions on your board training hours will be reported.
Any questions? No?
Okay.
All right. Let's move to facility projects update for Mr. Knight.
So I wanted to start off, just by thanking the maintenance and custodial staff for coming in early over the snow and getting all of the parking lots and driveway sidewalks done. They did a great job, and I think that was about the fastest I've ever seen them do it since I've been in this position. So I also wanted to talk about, I know it's not exactly facilities, but it kind of is with the technology department, and since Neil's here, I'm just gonna go ahead and say the new unfunded mandates that the state is asking us to do, because some of these things are gonna cost us some money and might cause some teachers a little, to be a little upset. I put a link there to the Little Rock School District, just we don't have to watch it, you guys can watch it later if you want. Just a video of basically they were hacked and they spent at least $250,000 to get their data back. We have a lot of sensitive data at school, for students, for SPED, for faculty, social security numbers and stuff. And I think that was the spark that kind of got the state to say we need to have some minimum requirements. The first one is that Act 504, we have to have a cybersecurity policy, and it has to be submitted by October of this coming year. We've been working hard the last few years, and we knew this was going to come one day, and trying to get stuff in place to do that. You probably all noticed not too long ago we get this two-factor authentication for your Gmail. That's part of it. The software on the Macs is also a part of it. We're still waiting on a sample policy from DIS and ADE for that, but some of the tech department, we're going to be going down for more training in Little Rock at the end of this month, so we'll have more for you. The other one that I think is a big deal and may cause little headaches for some teachers is that Student Data and Vendor Security Act 754, where from now on, most of the things we use now are all hosted in the cloud. That's happening more and more. There's a minimum set of requirements and contracts that must be signed to say that you have to be careful with our data and the destruction and every piece that goes. So I can see, this will probably be the first time that I know of that if someone wants anything used for education and it's a piece of software, it has to come through the tech department. We have to make sure that those contracts are signed, that they're being careful of our student data before we can even use it. So then we'll have to go through everything that we're already using. So. Any questions on?
Sounds fun.
Sign of the times. Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Anything else for you? No?
No facilities update?
If you want some stuff, we're getting ready for summer.
No frozen pipes?
We had two. They're
Not
already
bad.
fixed.
Already fixed.
Yeah, two actually wasn't bad, I guess. Yeah. A lot of HVAC went down, just with condensate lines outside freezing. The schools aren't, a lot of the older schools weren't made to be that cold for that long.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it wasn't horrible.
Good.
Thank you, and thank your team.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, moving to board action items. Ms. Cotter to request to approve board liability insurance renewal.
The district must carry legal liability insurance, which covers actions of the school board, administration, and staff. School districts across the state join together to purchase legal liability insurance at generally more attractive rates than are available to individual districts. So what I'm presenting to you tonight is the renewal proposal for $20,432. This is an increase over last year due to inflation of $991. And our general liability policy has remained the same at $541. And this would be to take in effect February 1st. So we recommend the board renew its annual school board legal liability and general liability policies underwritten by Richmond National and Cincinnati Specialty Insurance through Cadence Insurance, a Gallagher company, and endorsed by the Arkansas School Board Association, which would be effective February 1st.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Jason and Barbara. Any discussion?
Is this the same for every district?
It is.
I mean, you've
I'm
got seven
sure.
school board members, or, I mean,
I don't know the answer
how
to
do they
that,
base
actually.
their premium?
I'll research
I mean, no, we don't, but I was just wondering if it's like, every school pays the same amount of money.
I don't know the answer to that, I'll have to ask.
We know there's limited companies, if only one really that
Right.
covers this. We did make some phone calls, and reach out to some folks.
And maybe it's based on, your enrollment,
No.
I don't know.
Now, my understanding was the board policy is optional but recommended. I recommend it. Just-
I'm leaving, you might not need it.
Should have gone down with Neil even.
I could reach out to Bill Birch.
Okay. Yeah, very few, our understanding is ASBA puts this out, gets the bid, and this is who folks go with because this is the only folks you can go with. Very few companies, which makes sense. I mean, 250 school districts in Arkansas.
And I know we've been with them ever since I've been here, at least 10 years. So I would have to research how far that goes back.
Ms. Cotter said our folks at this company are fantastic, and when I was reaching out to folks at AAEA, they said, Mr. Birch, and said, fantastic. So it was interesting, and she was not in the room or telling him that, so this is definitely the company that folks go with.
From my understanding, this is not a tips taps, but it's similar in that
Similar.
ASBA negotiates the rates.
And since it's a
across the board,
renewal.
And then we renew it through them, so.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Cotter.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So Cheryl Miller is presenting for Mr. Mooney.
Okay, Ms. Cheryl. Request to approve salary schedule adjustment proposal.
Good evening.
Good evening. Steve, could you be with us tonight because he's sick? I'm the secretary for the CPPC, and Ms. Dewey brought a salary schedule to the CPPC for approval for a new classified personnel position for school safety and security. And we would like the board to consider this classified position. Of course, school safety and security is the utmost concern in our district after learning. A district employee this district employee, when it comes about, will be working with our SROs and also with our crisis plan. So we'll just have that extra layer of support for safety and security for our students. So we would like the board to consider adopting this salary schedule.
Very good.
I'll make a motion, we accept the proposal for addition to the classified personnel salary schedule.
Second.
Second, Scott and Jason. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Cheryl, for filling in. Mr. Engel. Request to approve the 24-25 school calendar. We always love this time of the year. You're the most favorite person right now. Always, yeah, especially.
One of PPC's favorite responsibilities is the development of the calendar for the next year. I do want to take a moment to say this is probably the least pleased I've ever been with the calendar.
Uh-oh.
Because of some of the unfortunate timings. For example, we have to start by the Monday in which August 19th starts. Well, August 19th is on a Monday this coming school year, so that really limits our start dates. And through surveying our staff over the years, as we've joked about before consistently, teachers want 2 weeks of Christmas, the week of Thanksgiving, and out by Memorial Day. In order to make that happen this year, there were very, very few options for flexibility in terms of, you know, how can we throw a 3-day weekend here, how can we strategically, there just wasn't any. If you couple that with the requirement of 40 school days per quarter, the flexibility was terrible. Because of that, PPC voted to go ahead and present the calendar without actually polling the staff formally. We did notify the staff of that, and from all I've heard 1 piece of negative feedback.
That's not bad.
Many who are understanding that it's just an unfortunate layout of the schedule.
Mhm.
So with that, we ask that you guys would approve what we've done, calendar option 1 for our calendar for next school year.
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation for calendar option 1.
There's a motion, but
Only.
second,
Second.
Bob? Any discussion over calendar
Yes,
1?
I do. There's only one calendar. My concern is we didn't give the teachers opportunity to see it. There's a lot that hasn't seen it. I've been told that. I just felt that they needed, we've taken their vote away. CPPC, I don't think they were even involved. Who's the CPPC rep here? You?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna ask that question of CPPC. I know CPPC hadn't seen it. Do they need to see it? Is it normal? This is my first January here. Is it normal for PPC to see it? And
Well, here's the
put their
thing, they're
stamp
not
on
getting
it?
to vote anyway.
Right.
And I'm against that myself. There was a second calendar. It might not have been as good, but I think we could have brought 2 and had a vote. I think they should have been involved. We've done it for years and years.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, speaking to teachers, whenever we do send out a calendar vote, especially the last few years when we try to meet what they tell us the requirements are, the flexibility is usually pretty limited anyway. And a lot of feedback that I get from people is, what's the difference in these calendars? And then people just end up saying to their rep, oh, which one do you want me to vote for?
That's very few that does that. Most people are very concerned and they go over those calendars. They check every day that they're off. They check every day that there's a holiday. They check over those. I just feel we have taken their vote away, and I don't think that we should take that away from PPC or CPPC. So we could have brought the second and gone ahead and voted. And I know I was at that meeting, but what I heard, because unfortunately I haven't been able to come to the meetings, I made that meeting, and I heard that PPC has the voice and they can make the choice. So I went and met with Allison. I said, is that a state mandate? And she said no. Because I thought, okay, have they mandated that now? So that's my concern. I think they should have had a vote. I think they should have had 2 calendars at least to vote on.
I will say though, we had a training, our first meeting this year, and it was made clear that the policy, like, of what we are required to do, like, if the PPC approves something, that it can go into effect this year without a staff vote. That has changed. Now, that wasn't really our guiding part of this. We're really just trying to save the teachers.
It can, but it doesn't have to. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Yes.
Correct. But honestly, the calendars were the options were just so limited.
Yeah.
And I literally have at least a dozen people every year who just come and say to me, which calendar do you want me to vote for?
Yeah, and I understand that, because when I was PPC, that happened also. And, you know, I respect that because they trust you to make that decision. I just feel if we lose this, then we'll lose it forever, because usually we don't get things back. I just think they should be involved.
What do you mean lose? Lose what?
The vote.
The vote.
Mhm.
Well.
But does that mean there
I don't
won't
think
be
we're gonna-
choices next year?
I think this is an anomaly year where
I don't
everything's
There was
falling
choices.
weird.
No, but I
They
mean,
got rid of it.
even if we were to approve this tonight, I'm saying, next year, is there only gonna be one calendar, or do we?
Depends on PPC.
Well,
I can't, well, I mean, I will be on PPC next year, I can't promise that I'll be the chairperson, but it's never my intention to eliminate teachers' choices. If anything, it's the exact opposite. I really think I try to go above and beyond to hear what all the teachers are saying. Personally, I don't think it was worth their time with the limited, there were three options. We could have
Thank you, that's what I was
the
gonna
day
ask.
coming back from New Year's break, Martin Luther King Day, or Good Friday. With how the days fell, you could have two of those three. So really, there were three options that PPC could even consider. So the three combinations of those 3 days, two of them being off. The logistics of Good Friday being off, it's going to be an emergency use day, so there's a decent chance that we'd be going to school that day anyway. And I heard a lot of feedback this year of it was really difficult to just come back and expect to jump right into it. Canvas threw us some curveballs with the Sync with eSchool. There was a lot of phone calls to my room that first day while I'm trying to teach of how do you put my grades in right now. So I just got a lot of feedback that it would be really wonderful to have that time to come back from school or from break and just have a day like we do before open house to get ready for the upcoming year. So we took that feedback into consideration as well.
Now, you have it as a work day?
That's
come
correct.
back? So, we had 191 days, and we had that, y'all kept that. But we also have a work day at the beginning of the year, too. Our work day, 191, was an extra day. So, how are we having 2 work days?
What usually falls in the end of April or the beginning of May, if you remember like 5 years ago, it used to be our BITS day at Hackler. Last year was our externship day. So we're just taking that as being it's labeled a contract day. We're just renaming that to an additional work day, which I think is how it used to be years ago when the 2 work days were there. But I can't promise
No,
that.
but is this work day, both work days gonna be y'all's, because that's what the work days are supposed to be.
That's how it's labeled.
Nobody can call a meeting, no one can do anything, that's your work days.
That certainly was PPC's intention
Yes,
in labeling it as that work day.
I just wanted to confirm that that's what that was.
Yes, and I think teachers will be very much in support of that.
I'm
Is it-
starting to look at this whole situation a little different view than I did last year. And I really appreciate what you've been doing. We're required to set a student in front of a teacher in a teaching environment X amount of minutes. That's the way it is. You gotta fit snow days in there, you gotta fit work days, you gotta fit it all. That's the requirement. I believe last year when we talked about it, I told a story about Mr. Toyota sitting in the factory with a stopwatch and saving seconds. And seconds would add up into minutes and minutes into hours, and that's a profit. If I'm building one of these, and I build a bunch of them, and I gotta make a profit, that's very important. How quickly can we get them from one class to the other, do this, okay, I get all that, and you guys are doing a great job, and it's not easy, I was looking at what you did, appreciate it. Now, I'm looking at it a little different. What's the value? We meet the requirement of the state by putting a student in front of a teacher. What value do we get out of that? I've been watching this current year, last year, sitting in curriculum out, just the teachers communicating, talking about how can we engage these students. If a good teacher engages that student within the first 2 or 3 minutes of that class and engages them for the entire class, we get a whole lot more value out of those minutes than if we just put a student here or there, move them there, and we don't get that engagement. And I'm seeing us move towards the value a lot. I would just encourage we continue to do that. Nobody's gonna be happy with, you're doing a great job. This one not happy, that one not. It is what it is. Deal with it, but I would expect value for every minute that we have. If excellence in education is what we're supposed to be here, that's what the expectation is. So you're doing a great job. This isn't about building widgets. there's a big difference between Mr. Russell and Mr. Kincaid. They may have the same students in the age, but they all learn a little bit different. How do we engage them? If we don't engage them, we lose them, and then we don't give value to the community or the customer, which is the parents in the community.
Well, I think fitting to what you just said, if you look at that, where it says 175 days, I think it's 1120, 1120 hours. If you look at last year, I think it was 1108. So Mr. McCarn's kind of leading the charge for us is how we can be efficient at the start of our day and get kids in class, get the announcements done and out of the way in a more efficient manner. But actually doing that, we're gonna be able to add, I think it's 12 hours to the year, which could give us flexibility, or it could just be, like you're saying, more time. And I think if we can, since at the beginning of the day, get the day started right, I'm with you.
If we can build engagement into the, it's not something you do with a number, but, I mean, we can do that.
How many minutes was that you said that y'all could add?
I think it's 12 hours.
Yeah, but we talked
Oh,
in
5
minutes.
minutes per day. 5 minutes, I'm sorry.
5 minutes, and that would start you at what time?
7:55, and only the junior high and high school have to make that change.
Okay,
And to
well,
be honest-
elementary already starts
Exactly.
10 minutes before 8.
I was reminded that at NPC last meeting. But no, all the students are at the high school and junior high anyway at that point, just about, so it should be very minimal change that hopefully improves the flow of the day, honestly.
Any further questions?
Just a couple, back to the CPPC. Once again, this is my first January here. Is it normal for CPPC's input to see this or provide any input on the calendar or not?
This is really my second go around with it, and last year with Lawrence, everything was such a whirlwind. I don't know that I can honestly answer that.
Ms. Cheryl, do you know, does CPPC normally see this calendar and discuss it?
Normally,
Yes, they do.
do have the opportunity to submit a calendar as well, but we
Okay.
always leave that to the certified because we feel the teachers have a better effect on it. But usually we do see it, but that's only because they usually took the vote.
Years ago, they weren't involved, but for years, CPPC has been involved also.
If we table this, come back to it next month after CPP, what's the implications of that? Does this need to happen tonight for
No.
contracts?
I did some research with Ms. Cotter, and sure enough, Ms. Horton, May 7th, the end of cycle 7 is when the calendar must be in. However, for contracts, we need it prior to March 1, for sure. I will tell you, Financial has already gone through the calendar and made sure we have the correct number of days, looked at, developed a 191 and a 175, because or 178, because all of that does have to be put into
Contracts.
e-finance. Right, yes, okay. So I did some learning today too, to make sure that we would be prepared to answer that question, and then they went through and made sure we didn't have any errors as far as number of days, because that affects payroll for folks. So they have to develop they develop multiple calendars, separate from this, for staff.
The other question I had, and I understand so many minutes, so many days, et cetera. Looking at the spring though, you know, in the fall, right, there's a whole week for Thanksgiving with no students, Christmas break. But when you go from spring break through the end of the year, which is the grind, right? There's 8 weeks without a break there. So I understand we're constrained to, hey, this is one of the few calendars, but I mean, discussions are happening. Hey, maybe we take one of those Thanksgiving days and put a break into the spring there, so you don't have that solid 8 weeks, or is it better to push through for those 8 weeks when everyone's burning out and
The teachers consistently say they want 2 weeks at Christmas, the full week at Thanksgiving, and out by Memorial Day. And in my opinion, if that's a consequence, the consequence of meeting those 3 criteria is that we have to go for 8 terrible weeks in a row.
So be it.
We don't do it again next year. Maybe our priorities change leading into that year. And like I said, the only real opportunity for doing anything about that, honestly, would be to take that work day coming back in January and putting on Good Friday. And then if you look at the historical trend, there's probably a 40% chance it turns into an emergency snow day anyway. So,
My opinion is that we do need to teach longer because we need to teach through the testing time. And if we're saving everything for later, that's, we're taking off our teaching days when we're
Getting towards
taking
the end of
days
the
out.
year. Okay. Yes, I mean, there's 3 weeks off in a 6-week period there, but Thanksgiving through Christmas, so they're off six, off
And
3.
believe me, as a
if there's
teacher, it's perfect. This was a
Yes.
perfect storm this year. And I like to do that too, but we didn't always get to do that. But that's my opinion. I think we should teach more, take some of those days out maybe, and of course, I'll make every teacher mad at me, but
Okay.
I'm just thinking about the kids.
That's what we're here for.
Well,
That's
this,
it.
y'all don't have to agree with it or not, but I'll say, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until February's regular meeting, so it gives a chance for CPPC to evaluate and put their input. So I'll put that motion out there.
We already have a motion on the floor, right?
Well, you said there's another calendar.
But to
right?
table it,
There
I
was
think
one other
you
one.
can make a
or-
motion on top of that one to table it.
PPC did have two
I
options,
believe.
and I think they're attached to the action items, just in a different tab.
I mean, how hard is it to do a vote?
To the staff?
Yeah, between those two calendars. I mean, it can't be that hard it would be hard for me, I'm not gonna lie, because these things.
It wouldn't be hard, I just think we're delaying the inevitable.
That's what I'm saying, but then, guess what, it makes everybody happy.
Yeah.
If we gave everybody a choice, and they chose the one that you got here, then everybody's happy, right?
Then they can't say that you didn't give him a choice.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
That's
I'm
huge.
just- That's just smoothing the water over. That's
Okay.
probably, like you say, the inevitable, come back February, we're gonna approve this calendar, but guess what, then everybody goes home and says, wow, we did.
They heard
Everybody had
us.
a choice.
But we really do need to make sure every teacher sees it, because I have heard that they didn't even know.
But Barbara, if you put a vote out there and they don't vote, then that's their problem. I'll have to say that. I
I'm
mean,
saying
if
they
it's there.
didn't see the calendar.
But if we do this and he puts a vote out there and they just choose not to vote or
That's
not to
fine.
look.
That's fine.
But
They
you
had
just
the
said you
chance.
wanted every teacher, that's
I
probably not
want them
possible.
to just see it.
They'll have they'll have the option, and that's what we're trying to do here, is give them the option. But not every teacher's gonna look.
Did
You
the
know that.
staff
They're just gonna be like, whatever.
see the calendar
They may not, but
before
we
tonight?
don't decide that for them, and there's a lot of people that want to see
It
it.
was not sent out, it is attached to, it's attached to the board agenda, so they could attach it.
I didn't hear that question, Jason.
I asked if did the staff see this calendar before tonight, before the board book went out?
I'm really hesitant to send out a digital copy of the calendar before you guys approve it, because then it makes its way everywhere. And then social media, wherever, people start thinking that's the real calendar. So for that reason, no, we did not formally send it out. I did send it out to PPC and encourage them to share it like upon request. But it was not sent out.
Draft.
I know
It's across the top.
And I know you asked for that, because I was there, for each representative to send out.
And we did send an email today to all staff explaining why there was no vote to the staff. And I did not hear, I heard from probably 12 people at the high school said, thank you, perfectly understand. Out of the district, I heard one complaint.
Neil would know.
All right, so this may be a little irregular, but
I'll ask Neil.
you're bringing a proposal to us. You feel comfortable with it. You feel comfortable that you gave anybody an opportunity that really wanted to gripe about it or add to it or do anything, they had some kind of voice.
By sending it out today, I think that's
And
enough
if we
time.
send this back for another, let's vote on it, and they don't like it, and now you gotta go through the whole process again, is it gonna be any better than what we have right now?
That doesn't mean, their vote is actually, it's a courtesy to them. So
Well,
the
they
board,
can courtesy they want it or they not. So if they don't want it, then does that put this whole process?
no, the board decides.
You're gonna bring us another recommendation again if we put it on.
It could be the same. And
It could be the same
I
or it could be
believe it would be
different.
the same.
Yeah.
So the irregularity, you're bringing the proposal, you'd like us to pass this, I
It
suppose.
is an irregularity. But I do feel that PPC nominated us based on our judgment to make these decisions for them. And
But not to vote, Madison.
That answered my
They've been
question,
voting for
thank you.
years, years.
I agree, but policy doesn't require that they do. And this is a one-time exception. For the last 2 years, I have always supported teachers' voices. You saw that through the horrible fiasco of the learned salary schedules. All we did was hear our teachers. There's just no voice to give here, other than nitpicking a day here or there. I certainly don't care. I just think we're delaying the inevitable.
Well, we have till, what was it, May,
March
but we
1st.
don't
Well,
want
we'd
it
like
May.
it by
March 1st.
Right.
for contracts, please.
I mean, I can understand the argument that the folks elected to the committees, PPC and CPPC, they're representing the
Right.
teachers and the staff, et cetera, but of course.
But they're not their they
they're not
can't be their
voice.
voice to
But even
vote.
CPPC hasn't seen it, or they didn't provide any input as all too, so that's kind of why I'm, hey, let's table this, that's my motion, is that we table it, and then readdress it next month.
So that they have
So we don't
opportunity.
vote yes or no on it, just table it, I mean, it comes back up next month after CPPC's had a chance to see it, the staff's had a chance to see it, et cetera.
So out of the respect of our teachers having another chance to vote on it,
And CPPC.
and CPPC, I think we should
We have a motion
allow to take the
table.
motion.
I just need a second,
He
it
just
would be
needs
a
a
second,
second,
and
and
then
then
vote.
A second.
And then
Okay,
vote.
so we have a first, we have a motion.
No
We already
discussion
have a
on the
motion
table.
on the table?
Yeah.
It's, you can do it mid-motion.
I made a motion to table it.
Understand.
Neil,
Ms. Horton has seconded it, so.
you got any input, Neil? You've got,
Stay out of it.
no, I'm not, I don't want
We're
I don't want your opinion.
Yeah. he's-
I want your knowledge of rules of motion and
A table.
a tabling.
He may table mid-motion, correct? There's a second and there's no discussion,
Yes.
is what I'm
Okay.
finding.
Is he suggesting that we have a vote? That needs to be clarified, I think. I didn't
I
hear
would
that from
appreciate
him.
that clarification as well.
Okay. We have a motion on the table right now to table the proposal,
That you're bringing.
the action
And
item.
come back next month.
Yes.
What's different? We consult CPPC and we vote, have the staff?
Well,
Yeah.
that's tabled. I mean, we don't even have to tell you what to do now. It's just
No,
tabled.
but I'm afraid I don't wanna come back next month and redo this again.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
it sounds like if you take a vote and have two options and CPPC gets to look at it,
Well, that's kind of what you were asking. Do you
Right.
take the
I would
vote?
say do the vote.
Do the
What's the
vote.
expectation?
I think
Do the
that's
vote.
why we're doing this, so you can take a vote.
And to clarify, my motion is to table it until
Table.
next month, February's
Thank you.
regular meeting.
But in
That's
the
my motion.
interim of that month, what is he supposed to do?
that's,
Let CPPC
that's
see it,
their, yeah.
have a vote on the staff.
And have a second calendar to choose from.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you
so-
have your
So it's not
assignment?
really tabling then, because we're going to come back with a different motion and.
That's
see.
true, because he's gonna bring something else
Because he's
back.
gonna bring
I mean,
something else
it's
back.
possible we come back with something entirely different.
He could, that's true, because you're just gonna see the same action item if you table this one.
Okay.
So
We vote no to tabling it, and then no to this proposal
That's-
then, to the
that
main
would
motion that's
be-
been made.
that
And then
would
you
be
bring it
kosher.
back next month as a different action item.
So we have a motion and a second to table.
Okay.
So you need a vote
Okay, so now we need a vote.
for
We-
tabling.
For tabling for next month. We have a motion and a second to table it.
But if you table it, the exact same
Thing could come
thing
back.
will come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we want to do it the other way, what do
need
we
to-
need to do?
You need to vote
If
it
you would
down.
like to see something completely different next month, you do not want to table this motion.
Well, I don't say
So,
completely
no.
different from
Yeah.
that, but
I-
something
You want to
else.
see a different action item,
Yes.
Yeah.
with possibly the same calendar, but a different approach to the action item.
So
Okay.
you
Two
need to
calendars.
say no to the tabling, and then you're gonna
Or
have
I
to say
can
no to
withdraw,
the
can I
agenda
withdraw my
item.
motion?
You
Oh,
could
what if it
withdraw your
passes?
motion.
I'll withdraw my motion to table it
That could work
until
too.
next February.
Perfect.
So I'll withdraw my motion.
So now you have a motion on the table to accept.
To accept
The
it.
recommendation
Or
from
not.
PPC.
Okay.
You have a motion and a second, you had discussion, so you can vote.
And I already had a motion from,
You did, because you had.
We already have a motion to
Yeah.
accept it?
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
And a vote. And a-
that was
We got
Jason?
go through.
Jason,
Oh.
Jason.
I thought we could
And a
discuss it.
second from Bob.
And Bob seconded.
And you've had discussion.
All in favor of the original recommendation?
I think I'm confused.
Do you want to see something different next
I
month?
do.
Then it's,
I need to raise my hand.
No, this,
No.
if you vote no, he'll come back, he'll take it and
Okay.
and bring it back
Yeah, we'll
next
take in
month.
3.
This is
So
gonna
three.
fly.
3 on
So now
3.
what? 3 to 3, what happened?
Neil,
Well, looks like 3 wins.
huh?
Ties defeated, isn't it?
Oh,
Ties
you
to
gotta
feed,
vote.
isn't it?
I don't know,
Neil,
pretty sure.
can you help us for a
I
second?
have to vote.
I'm sorry, we still have some more voting.
We'd have to back up a little bit.
I'm sorry, we're still good.
Really what needed to happen is there needed to be a motion to modify his and instructions given for what they need to do, basically.
But right now, what we have, because we did it this direction, we have a motion and a second, because we rescinded the tabling. We have a motion and a second. She's called for a vote.
And it failed.
Not
Yes.
yet.
Well, I'm not going to
Aye.
vote for it, so it failed.
So it failed.
A no vote is a no. Not voting is a no.
Okay.
Well,
So-
yeah,
That's a no.
yes,
With the understanding, bring it back next month.
right.
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 It has to come back
Okay.
next month.
Is the tie a no?
Mhm. Kai's a no, correct, Neil? Thank you.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Okay. Do you have all that, ma'am?
It's recorded.
Gee, that's-
This was,
Gee,
I'm
that's all
sorry,
I've done before we ever did all this.
audience, this is the first I've ever had experienced this too.
Board.
It'll be on social media.
I
Madison,
don't
see
care
you
about
next time.
social media.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, we end on that. Board discussion. Where?
Come discussion.
You have some board discussion?
Disgusted.
Discuss the discussion.
Disgusted out.
I had one thing with Mr. Engel here. While you're here, let me ask you, back in the September board meeting, we were discussing salary schedules and opening the can of worms with PPC looking at that, and we discussed the framework coming back on those stipends, excuse me, not salary schedules, the stipends back in September. And we had tentatively talked about, hey, when was that gonna come back? And we'd mentioned the January meeting so that it could possibly go back to PPC for February and back in time to the board in time for contracts. Seeing if I could get an update from you on, has there been anything, and part of that was, hey, no actions needed, PPC looked at it, but just wanted to see if we can get an update on that.
So as we anticipated, this opened the unbelievable can of worms, and it's been quite the, I'm not actually part of that subcommittee, but it has been quite the undertaking. A survey did go out yesterday,
Yesterday?
I think it was yesterday, and I just checked a few months ago, 98 people had already responded, and it's pretty clear the staff wants some clarity as to what it takes to get a new stipend, how you determine the value of a stipend. It's just proving to be a very difficult task.
Sure.
So I think the subcommittee is leaning towards simply, primarily addressing the how do you add a new stipend component, because that's manageable. As for how do you determine the value of a stipend, that's going to depend on these survey results, what PPC says and what you guys say, and it's just going to be a very difficult thing to do.
So it's in process, but
It is.
it won't be done in time for contracts this year.
Madison, it really wouldn't affect contracts, the direction they're going, unless there's an additional stipend or something added.
Or if a
Is that
stipend's
correct?
reduced, which I believe is nobody's intention.
Right.
So I don't think that contract deadline is a hard and fast deadline,
Okay.
just if something new is added. But that probably wouldn't go into effect until next year, however. I mean, we'd have to go through the motions like we did with the seventh grade cheer stipend, so it could happen regardless.
Okay.
It's been a challenge for them.
It's in progress.
It's in progress.
Thank you.
Lots of challenges.
This is not discussion, but it's more of a comment. As a relatively new board member, Mr. Booth is a little bit newer. I've been really blessed to come on to a stable board, a stable school system, and for Bill and Neil both, it was real good. Neil didn't talk a lot, but when he said something, I would listen. And you could kind of get that from tonight. And Bill, when he said something, you knew he would just say something, whatever he was thinking. And that was an interesting, great dynamic that everybody on the board had their own opinion, whether they had an agenda or not. I suppose we all have an agenda of some sort. But the purpose of the board and the purpose of the district is excellence in education. That's what it has been with a very stable, long-time board. And all of y'all have been doing a great job for years. And I appreciate that. And Neil, as you go off the board or been off the board, and Bill, as you leave the board, and we have a new superintendent, it's really going to change the dynamic of the district. And I would just hope that it continues to have that, even if we disagree here, at the end of the day, we'll come out of executive session and we'll be unanimous and we're here for the students. And that's been exciting for me for this time.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, Superintendent have an update for us?
I
Thank you.
do.
By the way, Bob, I think that was a compliment, thank you.
It was.
I'm gonna take it as one
I
anyway.
believe it was a compliment.
Okay.
And thank
To
you,
all of
Neil,
you.
for being here.
Yes, because we
And Neil, you're
needed you.
probably gonna have to show up to the meetings, make sure. you
Yeah,
do stuff wrong.
make sure we're doing things right.
I've got to brush up on my Robert's rule.
Whew. I was Googling as fast as I could.
Sergeant at arms here.
We need Mr. Nelson back.
Oh, yeah.
God rest his soul.
So I'm thankful we were able to get our kids back in school today. Some cold, snowy days, but we had those kids back. We had them warm and fed. And that's probably, today was as important as what they were learning in the classroom. And I heard teachers say that all over the district today. Our custodial, maintenance, and transportation
Awesome.
killed it. And so thankful for the work they did. They went above and beyond to make sure our kids were taken care of. We will run snow routes again tomorrow. Amazingly enough, there are still a few places we're watching. So they talked to transportation last night. Mr. Paul Belknap called me about 7:15 and said, I have driven every snow route in Mountain Home District. I think we're okay. And here's the ones I'm going to call and tell to do something differently. So it's dedication like that that
I bet Promised Land's one of them.
Oakland and
You're right.
Henderson.
You are spot on. So we did, Mr. Rose told you that we did have to push back our days with Solution Tree. The on-site grant-based visits, consultation that they do, we're pushing that back. We did get a couple extra days with them. Mr. Mark Gibson at the co-op was able to work with the department and get us 2 extra days, specifically for high school. So Ms. Russell was very excited about that. We were able to plan those, and just super excited as we continue to dig into what's going on in the classrooms and student learning. I want to thank you all once again as we wrap up tonight for your willingness to serve the district as board members. I know that at times the decisions are tough. The work is often thankless. But at the end of the day, when you see those kids walk across with a diploma in hand, it makes it all worth it. So thank you.
I bet they were happy to see their friends today.
I bet they were our teachers, principals, happy to see their friends.
Yeah, they
And
need
yes,
that.
learning is very important. I just knew we just needed to get them warm and fed today.
For sure. Okay, anything else? We will break for executive session.